Good morning, friends. It's time to rock and roll here, so we're going to begin. My name is Tim Rush, and this is my colleague, Burnett Whiteplume. Today we're going to talk about the shootings in Riverton at the Detox Center last summer and the events to bring community together in a way that's suggested in our title. So I'm going to begin, and we'll kind of play badminton up here. Right. Okay, we've agreed that we will allow ourselves to be interrupted by one another or by questions from the audience. So I'm going to lead off. The headlines in the summer of 2015 came as a shock to us, as a shock to everyone. Burnett and I had just finished a year's work on the International Conference on Stabilizing Indigenous Languages, the 22nd annual, I think it was. And, it was an international, worldwide conference. Everybody was happy, right? And then, one dead, one injured in shooting at Riverton Detox Center. That's a headline from Wyoming news media. A few days later, another headline. Wyoming City Parks employee shot 2 men at Detox Center because he was tired of cleaning up after homeless people. In his statement to the police, he used the term park ranger. He's tired of the park rangers. He's worked for 13 years for the Parks Department in Riverton, and apparently this was his main job, to put the city park in order, or parks in order. Park rangers, if you ask people in Riverton who know the term, they're going to say that means homeless Native Americans. The issue for me, when I look at definitions of hate crimes, is that on the surface this doesn't seem to be a hate crime. He said clearly, he was after his plan was to kill as many homeless people as he could. And that's Roy Clyde in his confession of what he did. The U.S. Department of Justice defines a hate crime as violence of intolerance and bigotry intended to hurt and intimidate someone because of their race, ethnicity, national origin, religion, sexual orientation, or disability. Can you see, this is kind of a borderline case, which is, well, hate is hate. Right. This was directed at a group that's not listed. When really, if you interpret park ranger to mean Native American, impoverished Native American, the group is specified. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, for the purposes of collecting statistics, the FBI, has defined a hate crime as criminal offense against a person or property motivated in whole or in part by the offender's bias against a race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, or gender identity. All right, we're getting close to the place where we can define this. Immediately after the event took place, there was a response from the tribes to bring people together to, well, Burnett, why don't you take it from here?
Okay. Burnett Whiteplume, I'm a Northern Arapaho tribal member. I want to go through a little bit of background just for your information really fast here, because we're on a time schedule. Our population of Riverton is about 10,000, maybe a little bit over. They're 20% American Indians. Our tribal population is 10,000 according to recent reports. It's a little bit more than that, but these are approximate numbers. In Fremont County, we have about 40,000 people. And I think, I forgot what, about 13,000 Native Americans, American Indian people in Fremont County. Major employers, school districts, federal government, tribal government, city government, Wind River Casino. I think the casino was the largest employer in the county. at that time, but the oil prices went down. We have 80% unemployment on the reservation. We have housing shortages, over 300 people on the waiting list. We have health care, ambulatory care, but if you need hospital care, if they have money, it's good, but you're limited to that. Also, on our education, we have school districts, Fremont County, 38, 25, 24, 21, 14, 6, and 1. We have an Indian school, a 638 contract school, St. Stephen's Indian School, Central Wyoming College, Wind River Tribal College, Job Corps, University of Wyoming Outreach. We have safe drinking water. We have a deep aquifer. It's huge, so if you think you need clean water, sometime you might want to move over there. We got good water. Solid waste, we have issues with that. Our air quality, we had a ruling from EPA, which might be a sticker later on. Our reservation exterior boundaries is 2.25 million acres. We have oil and gas production and Class 3 gaming as the main things that the tribe has at this point. Our health status, we have diabetes, substance abuse. We are not have access to the ACA and then others. We got some others, of course. But anyway, we have a governor-appointed state tribal liaison. His name is Sergio Maldonado, and he represents the Northern Arapaho tribe for that. Here's what happened. Tim already said Roy Clyde was sick of the homeless people who linger in the city parks. The police say he grabbed his handgun, walked into an alcohol detox facility called the Center of Hope, and shot 2 men as they lay on the floor, green floor, matting, killing one and critically wounding the other. So there's 1 dead. The headline was 1 dead, 1 injured, shooting in Riverton. And the shooting was reported about 4:32 p.m. inside the treatment pod of the center on July 18, 2015. And one of the headlines was shooting divides people, or highlights. Anyway, worker, he's a city parks worker. He's white. Victims are American Indians, both members of the Northern Arapaho tribe. Mr. Clyde told the police he had gone looking for park rangers. And he shot James Goggles. Right now he's laying in a hospital bed in Casper. And he killed Stallone Trosper, he's 29. And the other headlines that people said it should have brought people together. But it didn't. So as a result of that, what Tim mentioned already, the Department of Justice was interested in it. And so there was a lot of things that happened. We had a march. Shortly thereafter, in August, we went to Riverton. We had a march from the detox center down to the city park. And the Department of Justice has a community relations service that helped us organize and make sure people were safe on the walk. They gave us, people were talking about different things, what to do. And, you know, in the absence of striking out, that's one thing. Or we could do it in an organized manner where we could get things done where we need to have our people, everybody safe, not just our people, but everybody. So the Department of Justice came in and they trained some people. I got trained with running some small groups, which we did. We tried to answer these questions. Who are we? Fremont County is huge, just like we talked about. We talked about who we are, where we are, where we want to be, and how we're going to get there, kind of thing. That kind of sounds like strategic planning to me, but in there, in our meetings, we've had 4 of them, and we took on each one of these topics, but in there was very few American Indian people from the reservation. So the second time they asked us to get people there. So our second community meeting, we had about 65, and it was split evenly. We've been moving around. We started at Central Wyoming College. There's an American Indian Heritage Center up there. They have nice classrooms, and so we used that. Then we went to Lander, then we went to Fort Washakie, then we went to Arapahoe School, and right now we're done. But people want to have another one, so we're going to try to do some more meetings, another meeting about that. Just as a review, we did 4 meetings. We asked questions. We started in September last year. We just finished in March. Those areas we went to. And that's strategic planning. Where are we? Where do we want to be, and how do we get there? That's what I think we're trying to answer. So with that, you got any questions? Yes, ma'am. About that time, one of our tribal leaders died, Starweed, and so they canceled that meeting and they moved it to a different date. So a lot of those people that were going to come didn't come because of the cancellation. So I think that was one of the problems, is they had it set and everybody was looking for it, but we had a death, so everything kind of, out of respect for him, he was a POW during World War II, and people knew him and liked him and loved him, so we stopped. So, but the next one, there were more people. So I think it's slow. It's just like anything else. It's just slow to start. And I think I already said there was still comments at several of these meetings. Oh, we don't have that problem. It don't exist here, you know. Why are we talking about it? But it does, so. Any more questions? No more questions, I'm going to show you what happened, okay? Sir?
People come to the reservation sites.
I didn't understand it.
Did people from Lander and Riverton?
Oh, yes, excuse me, yes, sir. The mayors of both cities, the past mayor, a lot of interested people came from around Lander and Riverton. They came to the tribal sites. And then what we came up with was, on the last meeting we had each group come up with a solution, and we have these listed here. And we're halfway done. Let's see. We wanted to increase, group 1 wanted to increase youth involvement. They needed a curricula to be established at state level. And by the way, Wyoming was trying to do that this year in the legislation. It didn't go anywhere. It's still, but we've been trying. They've been trying. They want to use a tribal liaison to help. They want to convene a facilitated meeting between Unity Group and Internet Club, host a Truth and Reconciliation Forum for testimony of whatever, continue community dialogues, and I think that's why we're trying to have another one, and probably talk about these recommendations, host cultural events, and CWC to convene student diversity group, asking TRIO program to conduct student training, student advanced training, form study groups, create cultural expertise, hold one-to-one cultural exchanges. Group 2 said, focus on relationship building, bring people together, mentoring, using churches, CWC, whatever. Hold opportunity tours, develop Native American education program for all. That's what Wyoming was trying to do. Montana has one. And the program should have a youth focus, provide for mentorships, elder, youth exchange, promote legislation, history studies, social norm changes, workshops, appreciation of diversity, white privilege classes. Group 3, they said, place a welcome sign at the entrance to Riverton, probably to Lander, to Hudson, to Arapahoe, to ET, to the casino. Welcome should be written in English, Northern Arapahoe, however many languages we can get. And the sign is to demonstrate recognition of community members' contribution to the economy. Because the casino by itself contributes $100 million a year to Fremont County and Wyoming, and provides sensitivity training for business and how not to stereotypes, why it's not acceptable to only follow around Native American people in stores, promote opportunity for food growers to sell goods in local stores. We have a farmer's market, but that seemed like only in the summertime or during the fall. And continue dialogues, develop a commission where people could report discrimination incidents too. Right now, there's nothing like that. So that's what happened. Myself, I would really like to do this in a real peaceful way, because they're on all sides. There's people that want to do some bad things to us, and there's people on our side that want to do some bad things to other people. So I think it was really helpful to have the Department of Justice come over and give us some guidelines, and I think it's going to get better. At least we're talking. And myself, because I live this every day, I know there are people that hate us. I can see it and I can feel it. And I don't want that to be passed down to my great-grandchildren. Any question? And I don't have any money to loan, so. Sir?
What you said, Burnett, about education. What you said about education prompted me to say, okay, so if the legislature didn't take action on standards for American Indian education, that means the state of Wyoming still does not have standards in its public school curriculum, in social studies or history, for example, that address American Indians in any way. Textbooks typically in the early grades and upper grades devote a page or two out of a 500-page book to the history of and the culture and the contributions of American Indians. All right. If you could make a movie about every contribution that Native people have made, you'd have something like The Wind Talkers, which kind of distorts the reality, but not the contribution. You'd have that in many, many areas. There's a book by, I think it's Jack Weatherford, called Indian Givers, that runs through some of the contributions of Native Americans to the world. Right? I think Vine Deloria said, "We will save you," meaning American Indians possess the knowledge and the ways of knowing and doing that will solve the problems that seem impossible for us to solve right now as a world, as multiple societies. Okay, I'm reminded of this little bit of reality from a class I taught probably 18 years ago. On the reservation, we had a diversity in education grant, preparing teachers in Riverton, in Rollins, in Cheyenne, places where there were diverse populations. And after a class, classes were 3 hours long, they met on the reservation, which caused some people great alarm. They wanted to caravan out to Ethity from Lander and Riverton. One of the white students she said, you know, I'm 40 years old, and the activity you had us do tonight gave me my first conversation with an American Indian. I've lived here for 40 years. I've never had a conversation with a native person. That's, I think, you know, perhaps that reality has been dented. After all, it's almost 2 decades, but I don't see too much of it. Okay, I'll ask one more time for questions. I think how are we coming on time? I'm not sure that clock is right. Yes.
So out of all the group meetings, was there identified like the next step, the next action that wants to take place?
Yeah, these are what's next. These are the next steps on suggested steps. And I think we need to have another meeting to determine which steps which ones out of the 3 groups' recommendations to do next. And I think that's part of the strategic planning process, is how are we going to get to where we live in peace with everybody. That's the next step. There was a question over here.
Yeah, what was the structure of the dialogue sessions, and were there any challenges?
The format that the community service has was that small groups. In there, we identify. Let me show you real quick.
Can I take that? Okay.
Okay, they had some guides for the facilitators, and it was called Introduction to 101. And basically what we told you all, we're going to be talking over the next 4 meetings that we have with you. We're going to talk about these 4 questions. And in each group, small group, we're going to give you time to unpack what you think about this issue. Talk about yourself, where you're from, because it says, who are we, where you're from, what do you do, everything you want to do. And each time we met, we have a card for each small group to answer those questions. And it starts who we are, then where are we? And we had challenges where we are is we don't have racism. We don't have, I never experienced it. Those kinds of things. And there's, you know, like, there's a table over here and there's a table over here. As Indian people, we'd like to put our problems here. And they're way up there, but we never over here our solutions. So we need to start talking about what are we going to do about it, and that was the third one. The third group session was, okay, now what? So we come up with the fourth one was, we were supposed to come up with a plan, but there are so many things going on in the world. People are engaged in raising their families, going to work, getting an education, trying to stay sober, trying to put table on the food on the table for next time, because it gets pretty hard to look at the table and there's nothing to eat. And those kind of things on the res, you know. We have a lot of poverty. We have a lot of people that are okay, but there's, in my opinion, working in the school district, there's a lot of our kids that are needy. They need family support. They need good diets. They need a warm place to sleep all the time, all this. So those kinds of issues, some people have experience with and some people don't. So we have the whole, and it's still tough right now. Nothing's been settled. There's still a strong presence of racism doesn't exist here. We just need to get rid of you all like that. That's the challenge. Any question? More? A couple more? Yes. Yes, Human Relations Committee, Human Relations, to go, like someplace to take your complaint. And that's why there's people that say there's no racism, because we don't have a mechanism to report that I gave them a $100 bill for a $20 item and I got $5 back. There's no place to report that. Or, there's no place right now. We're just starting, and I think it needs to develop. One more question back there.
Well, I'll tell you what I think, that business interests have a lot of influence on what happens in schools. I suppose you know the rest of that answer, right? It's something we should do because it's the right thing to do. We know that the kids, when they identify with the curriculum that's being taught in school, that they do better, right? If it connects with their experience and their families and their language and their traditions, they do better, right? That's good enough reason. We're here to educate every child, right? And we have at this university, in this state, a unique program called the Teachers of American Indian Children Graduate Certificate. It's a 5-credit curriculum, 5-course curriculum. The requirement in Montana, as I understood it 5 years ago, or 4 years ago, was take a single course or a certain number of hours, and you'll qualify as someone capable or competent for teaching American Indian kids. I would argue that that's a very superficial approach, but it may be the only way to get started. The 100 or so people who have participated in TAIC in this state and around the country have a leg up on these teachers in Montana. As a group, I would not say that there aren't excellent, well-informed people teaching in every classroom in every school district around the country, right? Because we're interested in serving children, right? Teaching is I think of it as a helping profession, like social work or any of the others. So, bless you for coming. Thanks very much. We need to clear out and make room for, Burnett.
Yeah, I want to thank you for coming also too, and I want you to let you know what I told you was my own experience going through this process. Someone else might have a whole different view of what we did, so this is to just get it moving. Aho.